Welcome to a special edition of NASA Science Live about climate change. I'm your host, Joy Ung, and today we'll be talking to NASA's chief scientist and senior climate advisor about rising heat all over the globe. We'll also hear from climate scientists across the country about extreme heat impacts and how they affect different aspects of our environment, from air quality to oceans, and how NASA satellites and data help us learn more all about it. So this is your chance to interact with NASA experts and have your questions answered in real time. So be sure to send them in using the hashtag AskNASA in the comments wherever you're watching. So today's focus is heat. Air temperatures on Earth have been rising since the Industrial Revolution. Human activities, particularly emissions of heat-trapping greenhouse gases, are making our planet warmer. Heat waves are the clearest examples of impacts of humans on our climate. And it's a fact. Human activities are making heat waves hotter and even causing them to last longer, starting earlier in the spring and extending into the fall. So as a reminder, we are keeping an eye out on the questions pouring in online, and we'll bring them straight to our experts live on air later in the show. We also have experts in the comments standing by to answer you in real time. So let's jump in. Now, with me today is NASA's chief scientist and senior climate advisor, Dr. Kate Calvin and John Hayes with NASA's Earth Action Program. Thank you both so much for being with me.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
So let's talk a bit about your roles. Kate, can you tell me what you do at NASA?
So I am NASA's chief scientist and senior climate advisor. So that means I advise the NASA administrator and NASA leadership about all things science and climate. I also work on connecting within the agency and communicating what we do externally.
And I serve as program manager for health and air quality applications, part of the NASA Earth Action Program. And my job is to work with end users, stakeholders, decision makers across the country and across the world to help them access the treasure trove of NASA satellite data that we have on the Earth system and how it is changing, and help them to apply that data to issues and problems related to health and air quality.
Thank you, that's super helpful. So I think the term heat wave can have a few different meanings. So can you explain to us what context we're discussing heat waves today?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. I think sometimes when we talk about rising heat or more heat trapped in the planet, we're really talking about climate change in general. And so what we know is that climate change is making our planet warmer overall. And with that increase in average temperatures, we're getting a lot of impacts on people and ecosystems. But there's also a specific type of events called heat waves. And heat waves are periods of abnormally hot weather. So they might be a couple of days to months, but usually you think about them as like number of days above 90 degrees Fahrenheit or some other temperature. And that's one particular type of weather event that is increasing with warming.
Yes, and rising heat and heat waves are certainly a big health issue, leading to issues of heat exhaustion, heat stress, heat stroke, particularly hard on the very young and the very elderly. And most people don't realize that out of all the weather phenomena, tornadoes, hurricanes, heat actually kills more Americans each year than any of those other events. And according to the CDC, those heat deaths are on the rise.
That's helpful context, thank you. So rising heat doesn't just affect one part of our environment here on Earth. It impacts all areas of the globe. So at NASA, we have scientists who study the whole picture, from ice sheets to air quality, from oceans to droughts and wildfires. And as I mentioned earlier, throughout the show, we're going to be checking in with scientists across the country to learn about how rising heat is impacting our planet in different ways. So let's start with Dr. Ben Cook in New York to get an update about rising heat, how rising heat affects global temperatures and what that means for droughts, wildfires, and agriculture.
I've been studying how climate change and global warming affect drought and wildfire for most of my career.